You know, if you wanna begin and then they can catch up when they come in.
Oh, so it's my turn?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is John Igliozzi, I'm a councilman. This is a quick little background on my family. My family's been living in America for the past 100 years. My family still lives in Italy. My brother, my father, we're the only Igliozzis in this country. My mother was part German. She passed away. She was actually 59 when she passed away, and I actually dedicated one of my very first campaigns to her. I have two sons, 16 and 13, and my brother was the councilman before. He was also a senator. He also was a mayoral candidate. Myself, I'm an attorney. I'm also a teacher. I teach law, as well as, I've done several things. My early career was a prosecutor, had my own firm, to work for a law firm, and now I do labor work, and I'm a labor attorney. I've been a councilman. I've been very fortunate and honored. I've been a councilman of Silver Lake for 16 years. I'm running for re-election. Some of the things we've been able to accomplish. Actually, one of the first things I ever did as councilman is actually increase the Providence police force by 30. It's 468 police officers at the time. At that time, Mayor Cianci and I joined forces together, and we increased the police department to 498. Presently, we have below 400 officers on the beat. That's one of the things that I'm going to focus on. And again, whoever does become mayor, I'm going to do my part to increase that police force back up to over that 500 mark. One of the biggest issues we have is public safety in our neighborhoods. Unfortunately, we're having a lot of these shootings. A lot of it's generated through gang violence. One of the things I'm going to be looking to, and I'm going to be working with whoever becomes the next mayor, I'm looking to double the gang task force, double the narcotics units, and try to address those two big issues that are facing the city of Providence: drugs and gangs. It's big. As you know, I represent the Hartford Housing Complex. I'm also commissioner of the Providence Housing Corporation. And unfortunately, remember last year or so, we had a young girl who got shot and killed. And it was all gang related. It was shocking that a young girl at her own party got shot and killed. Well, that had nothing to do with anything. That was strictly gang related, where a rival gang from another part of the city was looking for some other gang members, and they tried to see where they could find them. When they couldn't find them, when I gathered, they decided to shoot up the place. That is disturbing and frightening. One of the things that my experience has been is that it doesn't matter what the crime statistics say. It matters what my constituents feel. What's their level of comfort? Do they feel comfortable living in the neighborhood? Do they feel comfortable raising their family in the neighborhood? Do they feel comfortable going out in their backyard and their front yard? You can state whatever crime statistics you want. My constituents don't feel safe. It doesn't matter what the crime statistics say. It's about quality of life. So that's always been a major front for me. Second major front for me has always been parks and recreation. When I became councilman, Moreno Park's in my neighborhood. I don't know if you heard of Moreno Park. Moreno Park was a dust bowl. I worked throughout the years and was able to secure almost $750,000, and we turned it into a state-of-the-art soccer park. Because one of the things that were missing in my neighborhood was soccer facilities for the kids in my neighborhood and the young adults. Because soccer is a growing sport, and in the city, at least in my neighborhood, there wasn't a proper place for the kids to go. So we turned Moreno Park into a state-of-the-art soccer park. A couple of years ago, just recently, I joined forces with Staples. You know what Staples, the company? And Kabloom. They came up with $100,000. I came up with $15,000, and we cleaned Moreno Park from stem to stern. We emptied out. We filled two big, huge dumpsters, and we installed a $75,000 playground system together. So with that $15,000 that I was able to secure, I was able to get 200 Staple employees to descend on Moreno Park for an entire 4 days. They spent $100,000 and we rehabbed the whole park. Untitled Park. I was very fortunate in Untitled Park. My brother was the councilman before he built the recreational center, and the pool was already there. So since that point in time, I've been able to secure over $1 million into that park where we've done several things. One, built a water park right next to the water park next to the pool. Second, we rehabbed the entire Little League field from stem to stern. New lights, new box, new, what do you call it, new dugouts, and a new vending box. I was also, another sport missing in my neighborhood was football. So I worked with the Providence Packers, negotiating to come into my neighborhood, and I rehabbed one of the fields in my neighborhood in Untitled Park for $300,000 worth of lights, and made an entire state-of-the-art football field. So we got the Providence Packers, that's their home, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. Okay? Now let's talk about the other part of Untitled Park. Not only did we build a water park, I also installed a lighted walking track and the first ever permanent skateboard park. In fact, this summer we'll be cutting the ribbon for the expansion of the skateboard park and the new basketball court with solar lights that I had installed last year.
Skateboard in Spanish.
I also, and part of that also, where we're going to be cutting the ribbon for a new, batting cage for the Little League, as well as cutting the ribbon for the expansion of the skateboard park and the new basketball court with lights. Now, also, we just finished up a couple of weeks ago, we just finished doing Kids Fun Day. What I do is with a bunch of other people, we actually sponsor a free carnival for the kids in the neighborhood. And just to give you a sense, this was about 10 o'clock in the morning. We were able to help. 10 o'clock in the morning, we block off Plainfield Street, and we have from popcorn and cotton candy to pony rides to all the games, and everything's free for the kids. And we serve 2,000 hot dogs and hamburgers for the families in my neighborhood. Something we do every year. It's called Kids Fun Day. In August, you're all more than welcome to come. We do family movie night in my neighborhood, where I sponsor, I rent a big blow-up movie screen. And we own the popcorn machine in cotton candy. I bought it way back when. And what we do is we invite the families and we watch kids' movies under the stars and have popcorn. It's a big success. I'm just.
Yeah, no, I mean, these things are fantastic. And all of our kids and families can really benefit from those things. But you know, our plight is that we can't meet, that we can't get to the middle class. You know, we have good jobs, but there's no good jobs for our brothers and sisters in the community. So you know, as I said, those things are great, but we need to survive.
Oh no, I concur. But you were asking, you asked me about some of the things I was doing. We didn't get to that journey yet. I thought we were on a journey. I thought you were trying to find out more about me and what I've been doing.
No, that's great, and I'm saying those things are great.
Don't get me wrong. I know my audience. I know what SCI is.
I think more than anything, Councilman, we're trying to get through a lot of people today, so we've been giving folks 5 minutes and then 10 minutes of questions. But this has been helpful to understand where you come from and all the neighborhood services you're doing. So if you want to take a couple more, but we do want to get to our questions.
So you can say I focus on 3 big things: public safety, parks and recreation, and education. Just recently, a couple things we just finished doing. Well, a few years ago, we were able to build 2 brand new schools in my neighborhood. The vote was actually 8-7 on the council. I had to get the 8th vote from a councilman on a Sunday afternoon, and 7 councilmen voted. There's only 15, and 7 voted against building new schools for the neighborhood. I was able to get new schools in my neighborhood, as well as we just worked with Achievement First. We opened Oliver has a Perry in my neighborhood, where they've spent over $1 million rehabbing this very old building, which a school that I went to, my family went to. Actually, my aunt was actually thrown out of the school when she was young, because when she was young, the Irish school mom said she couldn't teach your kind, and she was thrown out of Perry. So, just to so I understand what it's like to have family members discriminated against. And then, of course, then she was sent to Oneyville and she bent wire when she was in middle school, because she got thrown out of school. Bending wire in Oneyville. Okay? So that's a true story. Now, let's talk about some of the things we can talk about this. Now let's talk about some of the things we were able to achieve. One, I have worked throughout my neighborhood, which trying to get new businesses and restaurants into the neighborhood, where we work on trying to help them, help them with zoning. For example, another Dunkin' Donuts, I got a Dunkin' Donuts in my neighborhood, helped work with them to bring a Dunkin' Donuts in my neck of the woods, help with the zoning, and secure some empty city lot, so they could build a nice Dunkin' Donuts. We got rid of an old junkyard, built a Dunkin' Donuts, and brought jobs in the neighborhood. They weren't the best, but bringing some businesses. As a councilman, you have limited power to really get like big businesses, especially where I am. I'm not downtown, I'm a neighborhood. So I gotta work with small businesses that come in. I work with my good friend of mine, Cesar Morales, Maya's Tech. I've been working with him for 10 years. I've helped him, welcome him to the neighborhood. He's actually a great, unbelievable story about how he got to this country. 3 times it took him to get to this country. I think the last time he told me he broke his leg and he finally got his citizenship papers. He's a good friend of mine. I've worked with him in Myers Tech, growing Myers Tech, helping him get expansion, entertainment license, and zoning. Now, it's not the Hilton, it's not the Omni, it's not big, but it's restaurants and it's some jobs. So I help out where I can with people looking for business. It's another new restaurant opening in my neighborhood where I worked out helping with the zoning board to get them the zoning so they can expand and get the appropriate zoning change so they can add the addition they want to add to it. And that will in turn create additional jobs. I know they're not necessarily, but there are jobs. Now, let's talk about, when you talk about, if you want to talk about union jobs, well, as you know, I did support the minimum wage.
We've got some specific questions on that maybe better, and that one
Okay.
folks will have time to actually ask the questions that are important to them.
Okay, no problem. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's just something. So, if there's any questions about that, I have been very fortunate and blessed and honored to represent my neighborhood. I represent a very diverse neighborhood, but economically, and race and ethics, right? Ethical. Not ethical. Excuse me. Ethnic, right? And I'm very proud of that fact, and I've been very fortunate. So I guess we'll go.
Yeah, sure. So just a little bit about who we are. Take this and read it. But the way that when we give someone an endorsement, it's not a check and it's not a rubber stamp. When we endorse someone, our members are skilled at knocking on doors, phone banking, poll standing, doing delegations, and a lot of support. Hundreds of workers, hundreds of hours dedicated to helping a candidate. And the sentiment before you came in and earlier when we were talking was that some of the people that we've supported have not supported us in return, and we are sick and tired of that. And our question is, how would you support us and our issues?
Well, first, I know what it's like to support somebody and them not supporting you back. Actually, I was the deciding vote for Mr. Solomon to become president. I actually convinced Councilman Hassett's family to bring Councilman Hassett in, to wheel him in from his sickbed to vote for him. So I know what it's like when people break their promises. One, I'm a different kind of politician. I don't make promises, but I advocate for people. That's the first thing. Second, what have I done? Well, if you want to say specific 217, first of all, besides supporting and getting a resolution passed for trying to get, supporting President Obama's request to increase the minimum wage on the council floor, I've also supported the minimum wage process where you submitted minimum wage. In fact, I think I was the 3rd councilman. I physically put my face on the yes column that day. And at that time, by the way, I haven't met you guys before, and I never, I never was asking anything from you, because I think it's the right thing. I represent, like I said, a very diverse group of individuals in my neighborhood, and a lot of them at poverty level and below. And I have no problem supporting increasing the minimum wage. That's why I'm so passionate about when I spoke on the floor about it, because it should be increased. The job, number one jobs in Providence right now, in Rhode Island, the ones that are growing, are service jobs, right? And those jobs, we have to consider and take them in, and now we have to look at them in a different way. Like they used to look at the automotive jobs back in Detroit, where an automotive worker who used to put tires on a car and get paid below minimum wage, and then at the end was getting paid $50 an hour. Well, people in the service industry, we need to, Rhode Island need to look at like that. Meaning my point is that is our industry. That's the engine that generates. That's the engine that's growing in the state, and we need to take and help folks in that engine to a higher wage. Also, let me tell you something else. Also, I've also just submitted recently, and actually I got councilmen, a bunch of councilmen to support me, a minimum wage request that all future tax stabilizations, there'll be a codicil in it. It says that whoever gets the tax stabilization will have to pay their workers and any people who benefit from it the minimum wage plus 25%. Now, why do you do that? The State House took the power away from us, as you know, to allow us to raise the minimum wage throughout the city, right? And then the State House did that midnight run. My proposed ordinance deals directly with tax stabilizations. That's a contract relation between us and the person receiving tax stabilization. So it has nothing to do with the state statute. So that's one way in which, if I'm going to give a benefit to a multimillionaire, I should at least give some benefit to the people that work for that multimillionaire. And that's why I submitted that. It's going to be on the next council meeting next week. In fact, I spoke to Jen a few weeks ago, let her know about it. I spoke to this gentleman actually a month or so ago, saying this is something I'm working on. And I've gotten six, including myself, 7 council members who are supporting it so far. And in the same vein, hopefully it'll be something, if we come to mutual understanding, maybe something you folks would consider supporting also, because I think that will set the tone. Because my biggest concern right now is there has been a flurry of tax stabilizations every day in the city council. I've never seen so many in my life. And my concern is that I haven't seen the justification to have so many, and there's some people asking for an extension of them. There's multimillionaires asking for an extension of a 12 or 15-year tax stabilization. And my feeling is, you got the benefit for 12 years. It's time to give some benefit for others. So I'll be advocating for that particular codicil to be added to every tax stabilization.
So tell me this, that would be great, but if you support the minimum wage that we were asking for $15 an hour, why not make that initiative that you have to be $15 an hour?
Well, I guess the same question is, the 15, I don't know, it's like how you guys came with $15. The question is, how can I help the people the best I can? I need to get the conversation to continue and to grow. So how do we do it? The State House squashed the conversation when they passed that state statute, correct?
Yes.
What I'm doing is I'm trying to keep the conversation alive. And how can I get enough council members, and hopefully an administration, to support the idea of at least saying, in your tax stabilizations. Now, does it solve all the answers? No. But I have to keep trying. So it's my feelings, if we can achieve that, then what else can we achieve when we add the end of the tax stabilizations? So that's kind of what my thinking was, in a sense that how can I get it, package it, and then try to get everybody on board to support it. What's the goal at the end? To raise the boats of as many people as possible.
Sure.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
I have a question.
Sure.
En Spanish. Yo trabajo en el Hotel Renaissance. Nosotros estamos luchando por una mejoría.
So I work in the Hotel Renaissance. We're fighting to improve things at work.
Son unos dueños, unos propietarios que no nos dan trato adecuado y tienen una rebaja sumamente alta con los taxes.
So this is a company that we're very concerned about, and yet they're receiving one of the largest tax breaks in the city.
Esa es una de las inquietudes, porque si la ciudad tiene tanta escasez, de tanto progresar, entonces una compañía sumamente multimillonaria que tiene cómo pagar sus tasas, si se le tiene una rebaja. Esa es una pregunta. ¿Qué tú harías si lograrías subir y ganar la posición que te está dirigiendo?
So like I said, we're very concerned that this is a huge tax break that's going to a multi-millionaire company. What would you do? Would you do anything about it if you were reelected to the city council?
Well, I mean, first thing you gotta do is you gotta bring them back to the table. You gotta resubmit the tax stabilization to the city council and start creating the pressure points to bring in the owner to come in. And let me give you an example. It's never perfect, but I'll give you an example. When we first started the drum beats to try to get the nonprofits to pay some money, we started looking at different pressure points to get them to the table. For example, we started looking at different buildings. For example, the President's Building, where it's a resident, but yet they were saying it was tax exempt. So we put pressure on to get them to try to say, how can housing be tax exempt for your president? And then we try to put pressure. So you put pressure points. So what I would do is probably we resubmit it to the city council. You call the owner of tax stabilization to come before some hearings. You explain the plight, and you're gonna create pressure. And then figure out where you can try to, how do you wanna put it, in a nice persuasive way to try to get them to treat their workers fairly.
Yep. So you spoke earlier about securing a vote during the election for the council president.
I talked about that?
Well, about what do you know it's like to be.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I know it's like. Oh yeah.
So who would you support if re-elected? Who would you support for president of the council now?
Well, my position at this point is that I'm looking towards hopefully wins re-election, it'd be Councilman Aponte. Now, just to give you a little background on Councilman Aponte now. My very first election, one of the individuals who was actually on my election campaign was actually Councilman Aponte's brother, Alberto Cardona Aponte. So I go way back for 10 years plus with the family. I was very fortunate. In fact, I was very fortunate to have his support and his family support throughout the years. And I had no problem supporting Councilman Aponte to become president.
So we should run because there's other people waiting.
You know?
Yeah.
But we have to hopefully everybody's gonna win.
Right.
At the end of the day, everybody's gonna win.
Right.
So hopefully everybody wins and and hopefully we can put together a good leadership team.
I have one question for you.
Sure.
So I think we have to. Are we wrapping up right now? We're wrapping up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. There's a line. We're gonna have to bring them in as a panel or something. So if you want to, Miriam,
Wanna say real?
we're gonna ask you a question. We'll get the
The thing is, you're talking about the taxes and other things, and I'm thinking what you say, and I strongly believe for all those taxes we have today.
The tax stabilization?
Yeah. Only with that is behind too much the city of Providence. Too much poverty, the millionaire became more millionaire, they have all the tax break, and why it have the city poor, dirty, destroying in so many different ways, no safety.
Yeah.
So what do you think, what do you do so you be related to change all the panorama?
Well, first of all, I tell you, the things I can do is, first of all, I say I want to increase the Providence Police Department again. Got to increase the Providence Police Department. That's the first thing you need to do to change to make it safe. Second, you have to get the nonprofits back to the table, in particular the hospitals. Now, the hospitals have not contributed anything to the city of Providence. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I know that.
Okay? Gotta get them to the table. I welcome their growth, I welcome their economy, but they need to be better neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the my biggest things. I represent the West. I'm like the forgotten area a lot of ways. I don't get as much benefit from the city. But my major goal is everybody's gonna become a better neighbor. And the nonprofits in particular have to become better neighbors to the city. Because they're growing fine and they're prospering fine, they need to raise the boats of all too. They have a moral obligation. I'm sorry?
They have the moral obligation to vote, because we the vote, we give the vote. And
I agree.
completely forgot. But we have a problem with Providence, with around Providence, poverty, homeless, delinquent, unsafe. The
I know.
school, after school closed, so actually the ending, the more productive in the community, we end in the trash for the community. And we in here to try to solve this
I'll
situation.
segue on one word, leadership. Whoever becomes the next mayor of Providence, it's gonna be pivotal. That person has the ability and the background and has the experience to turn the city around. And I'll leave that at that. And I can tell you right off the bat, that's what it comes down to. Real leadership with a real vision. And I'll leave it at that. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Ciao, ciao.
So vamos a hacer solamente una